Greetings and salutations, my dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to this episode of A Dose of Faith. And I gotta say, people, we're moving right along with this series. We're already on our 5th episode, and you guys have been really supportive. Seriously, the comments coming in and the feedback we're getting from both Muslims and non-Muslims are just absolutely amazing. So I want to take this opportunity to personally thank all of you for your wonderful contributions and for making this series really special. With that having been said, let's jump into today's show. And this episode is going to be about a question I got from one of our dear viewers. And I found the question to be so important, so drastically crucial, that I just had to communicate it to all of you, because it deals with a problem that is scarring our image as Muslims. The questioner asks, what's the purpose of your prayer? What's the point of you guys fasting and going to pilgrimage and reading Quran and all these other forms of worship? Wouldn't it be much better if you invested your time and efforts in something more productive? Wouldn't it be so much more effective if you focused on honesty, punctuality, and hygiene? What good is your worship doing you if you Muslims have a reputation of always arriving late? What good is your ablution for prayer if you leave the public washrooms flooding with water and dirt for other users? Will your gracious God grant you paradise for praying long hours into the night while compromising your productivity at work the following day? He says Muslims are known for taking their religion very seriously as compared to others. But it seems to me like worship is doing you and us more harm than good. Ouch, brothers and sisters. You cannot but feel ashamed of yourself after getting a question like that. He's basically saying that even though we stand above the crowd in the arena of worship, our reputation when it comes to manners and good conduct is extremely poor. And I know some of you may be saying to yourselves, yo, he's a non-Muslim. He's exaggerating in order to make us look bad. No, people. He's right. His observations are absolutely correct. Seriously, people. We Muslims are doing things that are very inconsiderate to others. You don't believe me? Well, let me just give you some real-life examples. Things which I see regularly with my very own eyes that I know you can probably relate to. Now, I currently live in a Muslim country, and my office is right in front of a huge mosque. Not too long ago, I was leaving my office at around Maghrib prayer, and as I was walking towards my car, I could see my boss in his vehicle from a distance, and he's just sitting there staring out the window. I honestly thought something was wrong, so I approach his car and he rolls down the window and I ask, what's up? And by the way, my boss is a Christian. So I say, what's wrong? And he points to the front of his car, and there was this white, empty Toyota parked right in front of him, and it was blocking him in. After about 20 minutes, lo and behold, a bearded fellow wearing a dish dash happily comes back to his conveniently parked car, and it turns out that the brother was in the mosque. He's got to pray, man. He's got to catch the prayer in the mosque, because we all know the rewards for praying in the mosque. No comment. That was an example from life here in a Muslim country. And so that my brothers and sisters in non-Muslim countries don't feel left out, my second example will be from my life back when I was living in North America. And what I'm about to say used to happen practically every week. Now, as university students, we don't got the time to go pray Friday prayer in a faraway mosque. So what most Muslim student associations do is rent out a large room from the university and hold the prayers there. Now, in our case, we used to rent out the university ballroom. And this room could easily fit 500 plus, and it was normally packed for Friday prayer. So we'd get the room from like 12:30 to 2:30, and right after us would be another group of people who'd have the room rented. And you know what, sisters and brothers? We'd rarely finish on time. Every week, we'd make people wait until we finished listening to the khutbah and praying, and then offering extra prayers and rolling up the carpets. You know how it is. And a lot of Muslims would think that we're doing good deeds by having those waiting for the room watch us in prayer. But believe me, people, the faces waiting outside did not look anything like appreciative faces. Brother, we've heard enough. This is worship, man. We're worshiping God here. People can wait. Man, if this is your argument, then I'm sorry to say, but you have not understood Islam correctly. Why? People, what was the first goal behind the mission of the Prophet? To teach us prayer? No. To teach us how to read Quran? Then what? Ask the Prophet himself. He says, I have only been sent to perfect good manners. Say what? I have only been sent to perfect good manners. In fact, one of the main reasons you've been asked to perform acts of worship is to perfect your manners. Come on, brother, where are you getting this from? You don't believe me? Open the Quran. What does it say about prayer? God says, surely, prayer keeps one away from indecency and wrongdoing. What is your prayer supposed to do? Keep your manners on the right track. Keep you from doing wrong and indecent things. Let's move on to charity. What does God say? Take charity from their wealth in order to purify them and sanctify them with it. The Arabic word for sanctify is tuzakkihim, which is the deep practice of improving your manners. What about fasting? The Prophet says the person observing the fast should avoid sexual relations with his spouse and should not behave foolishly or impudently. And if somebody fights with him or abuses him, he should say twice, I'm fasting. Can you imagine? Your day of fasting has become a training ground for perfecting your manners. You're not allowed to swear. You can't argue. You got to think twice about what you say and do. You got to be on your best behavior. What the heck? Everything is focusing on our manners? What about Hajj? Don't tell me that's also got something to do with manners. God says, whoever intends to perform the Hajj should not have sexual relations, nor commit any wrongdoing, nor quarrel. Brothers and sisters, if your worship is not having a positive impact on your manners, then you got to question your worship. What's the point of a guy who has the Quran memorized if he isn't truthful? What's the point of a girl wearing the hijab if she treats people with disrespect? What's the value of a person who prays every prayer in the mosque but is a nuisance to everybody outside the mosque? People, praying 5 times a day is simple. Fasting is easy. Giving a bit of charity isn't that hard. But making sure that every single person is out of that rented prayer hall 10 minutes early so that waiting people don't get a bad image of Islam, now that requires some effort on your part. Parking your car 3 minutes away from the mosque so that you don't block others in, that involves a bit of sacrifice. Still not convinced? Listen to the story. A group of people came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and told him that there was this woman in Medina who was well known for praying, well known for fasting and giving a lot of charity. But they said she was harming her neighbors. The Prophet said she's in hellfire. Picture this, people. This lady was well known in the Prophet's city among all the companions for the amount of worship that she did. But she's got bad manners, man. And God wasn't happy with her. Then the same group of people told the Prophet that there was this other lady who was well known for doing the exact opposite. She didn't offer any extra prayers. She didn't fast much, nor did she have a reputation for giving a lot of charity. But she didn't inconvenience her neighbors. What did the Prophet say about this woman? She's in paradise. Guys, do you know how Islam spread through Asia? Basically, the Muslim merchants who traveled to the Asian countries had such high manners, had such good conduct, that the people who traded with them were just absolutely impressed. These merchants didn't have to talk about Islam. They just acted as proper Muslims. They just followed the example of our beloved Prophet, and their actions shine. Those Muslims, man, I love those people. They're truthful, they're polite, they're considerate, they're hardworking, they're honest, they're punctual. They've got good manners, man. Compare that to what's being said about us today. What have we done? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, nothing is heavier in a person's balance on the day of judgment than good manners. People, there should be no division between your worship and your manners. You want to know the level of your faith? Tell me how good your manners are, and I will tell you where your faith is at. I will tell you how close you are to God based on your manners. So let's try to do justice to our worship and give it the true meaning that it deserves, for our sake and for the sake of others. I leave you with that, my brothers and sisters, and we'll see you next time on A Dose of Faith.